Good evening, Senators. Today we have a bill to cede the majority of Washington, D.C. to Maryland. I'm on the affirmation today specifically because, well, yes, D.C. has been underrepresented for years and years and years of its establishment. And that is simply why I'm on the affirmation here, is that we should cede the majority of Washington, D.C. to Maryland so that they can receive representation. And in that very perspective, Washington, D.C., the landmark of the United States, the capital of the United States, has not received representation for 232 years. And it's time for us to let them represent themselves and cede to Maryland. And to that very perspective, it allows us to remain the 50 states. It allows us to remain the United States in a sense that everyone is being represented. And that is simply why I am affirming here, because again, the representation that is subtracted from the Washington, D.C.ers, the people living there without a vote, without a say in what they receive and what they may gain through their public good. And so if you think the same, in a sense that we bring representation and we give the opportunity for these people living here to finally cast their representation to come and give them the joy and the life that any other American has of freedoms, then we ought to pass today's bill to cede the majority of Washington to D.C. Sorry, the majority of Washington, D.C. to Maryland. And in that sense, it works fairly in a sense that there won't be a flag change that will cost millions of dollars to change, and it will not cause eruption, as the Washington D.C.ers are always and have always wanted representation. As you go there and you see their license plates, no representation without representation. And that is simply why I am on the affirmation. I'll begin my negation in 3, 2, 1. Today, we have a bill to cede the majority of Washington, D.C. to Maryland. It's been 232 years that Washington, D.C. hasn't been represented. And I want to say that Maryland's aren't District of Columbians and DCers aren't Maryland's. And so I leave this topic here that 86% of those within Washington, D.C. want statehood, not Maryland. And I think it's here that it's practical and moral obligation here that we let the people decide what they want. We let the people within Washington, D.C. know and want for their future. It shouldn't be our body as this Senate chamber to decide what the future is for Washington, D.C. As there has been, as the affirmation has said, 232 years without representation. I am for Washington, D.C. to gain statehood and to gain its independence and gain representation. But I'm not here to see Washington, D.C. to a fraud, of course, Maryland. And in a sense that it will create division, it create economic discourse, in a sense that there won't be enough funding to be allocated for both of those areas to be conjoined into one. And that again leads to the moral obligation here that it isn't our question to decide. It should be the District of Columbia, or sorry, the Washington, D.C. in a sense, to question. Let their own chambers decide what they want, as we have never represented Washington, D.C. And so I simply think it's moral for us to not trip over them and give them some money or some thing to give to them in a sense that it may not work for them. It may not be what they want. And it has shown, as the study has shown, that 86% of them don't even want Maryland. They want statehood. They want their own state because they're already conjoined and unified as their own being Washington, D.C., and not Maryland. If that was simply the case, in this percentage would be totally different. And in a sense, that is why I'm on the negation here. It's for the people of Washington, D.C., not our people. It's not our decision. It's not our representation because there is none within this chamber. So again, I resolve that we leave this issue to the people in Washington, D.C., and I negate a bill to see the majority of Washington to Maryland. Thank you.